Hey everyone, and welcome back. Ready to dive into something interesting.
Always. What are we looking at today?
Today it's all about crypto wallets, but not just any wallets. We're talking about multi-signature wallets, like really leveling up your security.
I see. Multi-sig. It's becoming more and more important with all the security risks in the crypto space these days.
You're telling me we actually found a really good article by Finixitita all about it from just last week on September 19th.
Oh, yeah, I think I saw that one. They broke down the steps for setting one up right.
Exactly. So for anyone listening who wants to really understand how these things work, how to use them, and why they're so important,
We're going to break it all down.
you got it.
Yeah.
So let's start super basic. What is a multi-signature wallet?
At its core, it's a special type of crypto wallet, one that needs multiple private keys to authorize any transactions.
Okay, so instead of just one key controlling everything, you need a bunch of them.
Right, you need multiple safeguards to verify and move anything.
Gotcha. So less chance of someone draining your funds if they get their hands on just one key.
Exactly. It's a huge part of what makes them so secure.
That makes sense, but I think it's easy to get tripped up on the lingo. We've got private keys, signatures. What does it all mean?
You're right. Jargon can get confusing. Think of your private key like your super secret password. And a signature is like when you sign your name to verify something.
So it's like a digital signature, basically.
Exactly. And in a multi-sig setup, you're basically saying you need multiple people to sign off before anything happens.
Like needing multiple approvals to access a company bank account or something.
Yeah, exactly like that. The article actually highlights a few other advantages of using this type of wallet.
Yeah, I saw that they mentioned enhanced security, which makes sense given what we just discussed, but also reduced single point of failure.
Which is huge GE.
And they said it was ideal for shared control. But I feel like all those things are kind of vague. What do they mean in the real world for the average person?
Okay, so let's say your phone gets stolen. Total nightmare,
What's the
right?
worst?
And let's say that phone had your crypto wallet on it. With a traditional single key wallet, your crypto is gone.
Oh, no.
But with a multi-sig setup, even if they have your phone, they only have one of the keys. They can't actually do anything with it.
So it's like having a backup plan just in case something bad happens.
Exactly. And it's not just about theft. It also protects you from losing access if your device breaks or you forget your password or something.
Wow, that's a huge relief. Okay, so that's personal use. What about that shared control thing? What do they mean by that?
That's more for businesses or organizations where multiple people need to manage a shared crypto treasury.
Ah, I see. So no one person can make a decision and run off with everything?
Exactly. It's about transparency and accountability. No more trusting one person to have the keys to the kingdom.
That's amazing. Okay, so you've convinced me. I definitely want to set up one of these multi-sig wallets. Where do I even begin?
Well, luckily, this article lays out the whole process step by step.
Yeah.
The first step is choosing the right wallet.
And I see they mention a few different ones like Electrum and BitGo, even hardware wallets like Trezor and Ledger. Which one's the best?
Well, that depends. Each one has its pros and cons.
Well, let's say I'm totally new to this. Never even used a normal crypto wallet before. What would you recommend I start with?
In that case, something like Electrum might be a bit much. It's known for its security, but it can be a little intimidating for beginners.
So what about something like BitGo?
BitGo is generally more user-friendly, and it has both custodial and non-custodial options, which gives you a bit more flexibility.
Okay, cool. So maybe BitGo is a good place to start for beginners.
Definitely.
But what about those hardware wallets? Are they just for storing your crypto offline, or can they be used for multi-sig as well?
Oh, they can absolutely be configured for multi-sig. In fact, it's like the ultimate security combo, a hardware wallet combined with a multi-sig setup.
So it's like having your crypto locked in a physical vault that needs multiple keys to open?
Precisely.
That's awesome. Okay, so let's say I've chosen my weapon. I'm ready to build my crypto fortress. What's next?
Next up is the installation and configuration process.
That sounds pretty self-explanatory.
It is, but this is where things get really important, especially when it comes to those private keys we talked about.
Lose those, and you're in trouble.
No matter what kind of wallet you chose, those keys are like gold. Use strong passwords, a password manager, even consider storing a physical copy offline in a safe place.
Okay, got it. So we've got our wallet, we've got our Fort Knox level private keys. What's step 3 in this multi-sig adventure of ours?
Now we get to the fun part, defining the rules. This is where you decide how many people need to sign off to move funds.
So like a 2 out of 3 situation or something like that.
Exactly. Or 3 out of 5, or even more complex setups, depending on your needs.
So if you have a small team, maybe 2 out of 3 makes sense.
That's a popular choice. That way, even if one person is unavailable, you can still access the funds.
Smart. But what if you're dealing with a larger organization, or you need even tighter control over your crypto?
Then you bump up those numbers, 3 out of 5, 4 out of 7, whatever makes sense for your situation.
So it's a balance between security and practicality. You don't want it to be too hard to actually use your funds.
Exactly. You need to find that sweet spot.
This is fascinating stuff. I'm eager to hear more about creating that multi-sig address and actually putting this all into practice. But first, we need a quick break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back in a flash to continue our deep dive into the world of multi-sig wallets. And we're back, ready to jump back into multi-sig wallet.
Absolutely. Let's do it.
We've covered the basics, chosen our wallet, but what's it actually like using a multi-sig wallet day to day?
Yeah, it's not quite as simple as a regular crypto wallet. The article even mentioned that.
Because you need everyone on board to actually do anything, right?
Right. It's all about teamwork.
Hmm.
Let's say you want to send some crypto from your multi-sig wallet, right? You initiate a transaction just like you normally would, signing it with your key.
So far, so good.
But here's the difference. That transaction doesn't go through immediately.
It doesn't. Nope.
Instead, it gets sent to all the other signatories for approval.
So everyone gets a chance to review it, make sure everything looks right.
Exactly. No more blind trust, everyone's in the loop, and only when enough people have signed off on it.
Based on that threshold we talked about earlier.
Yes, only then does the transaction actually go through.
So there are extra steps, but it makes sense. It's all about that added security.
You got it.
But reading between the lines, it seems like this could also cause some headaches. Like, what if you need to move your crypto quickly and one of the other signatories is on a beach somewhere without cell service?
That's a very real possibility, which is why the article stressed the importance of good communication.
Right. So you can't just set it and forget it. You need to make sure everyone's on the same page.
Absolutely. Everyone needs to agree on how often they'll be checking for these requests, what the response time expectations are.
What if it's really urgent?
Then you better hope you have a backup plan, maybe a secondary contact method or something.
Like anything else, communication is key. So, okay, communication breakdowns aside, the article also brought up the dreaded situation of losing a key,
Yeah.
which is terrifying to think about.
Definitely not ideal, but this is actually where that whole threshold thing becomes really important.
Oh, how so?
Remember how we talked about a 2 of 3 setup? If one key is lost, you're okay because the other 2 people can still access the funds.
That's a relief. But what if it's a 3 of 3 setup?
Then you're in trouble.
Yeah.
If you lose one of those keys, that crypto is as good as gone. There's no central authority that can recover it.
That's why the article kept saying to back up those private keys.
Multiple backups in multiple locations, ideally offline. Those keys are everything.
Got it.
Yeah.
Treat them like gold. So backups, communication, anything else we need to watch out for?
Well, even if you do everything right, there's always the potential for delays.
Because you need everyone to sign off on every transaction.
Exactly. So if you need to move your crypto fast and frequently, a multi-sig wallet might not be the best fit.
It's about finding the right tool for the job.
Precisely.
One more question about these wallets. The article briefly touched on recovery, and I was hoping you could expand on that a little.
Sure. With regular crypto wallets, you usually have that seed phrase, right?
Yeah.
12 words you can use to recover everything if you need to.
Yeah, I've heard about those.
Multi-sig wallets don't have that.
What? How do you recover your funds?
Each individual person has to back up their own key. And if they lose that key, there's no getting it back, no magic reset button.
Wow. That puts a lot of responsibility on each person to get it right.
It does. So it's definitely something to keep in mind when you're deciding if a multi-sig wallet is right for you.
Okay, so multi-sig wallets, amazing for security and control.
Absolutely.
But they also come with a whole different set of things to think about compared to your average wallet.
For sure. You need to be organized, you need to have good communication, and everyone needs to be on top of their security game.
It's a team effort.
100%.
Okay, so we've really dug into how these wallets work, but now the big question. Is this level of security something everyone needs?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? It really depends on your individual needs and circumstances.
I think we've got just enough time to unpack that before the end of the show, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. And we are back. Did you have enough time to grab another coffee?
It was close, but I made it.
Me too. Okay, so before the break, we were getting into that big question about multi-sig wallets.
Yeah, is this level of security really necessary for everyone?
Exactly. So how does someone listening to this, someone who maybe just learned about multi-sig for the first time, how do they decide if it's right for them?
Well, the article made a good point. It boils down to two main things: how much crypto you're working with.
Right, because it's one thing if we're talking about a small amount.
Totally.
Right.
But if we're talking about life-changing amounts of crypto, well, then that extra security starts to look a lot more appealing, doesn't it?
I can see that.
And then the other big factor is your risk tolerance.
Some people just aren't comfortable with the idea of a single point of failure, no matter how much money is involved.
Exactly. And that's okay. If having that extra peace of mind, knowing that your crypto is locked down tight, if that helps you sleep at night, then a multi-sig wallet might be a good fit.
So it's really about finding that balance between security and your own personal comfort level.
Exactly.
You know, the article really focused on the practical side of using these wallets, the
Yeah.
steps involved and all that.
That was a very practical guide.
But I'm curious about the bigger picture here. What do you think this technology means in the grand scheme of things?
To me, it represents a real shift in how we approach security. Instead of relying on some big institution to keep everything safe,
Which, let's be honest, doesn't always work out so well.
it never does. But with multi-sig, it's like we don't need those institutions anymore. We can rely on each other on distributed consensus to create something that's truly secure.
It's like the difference between a traditional bank and a decentralized network.
Yes. And as we move towards a more decentralized world, not just with finance, but with everything, I think this idea of shared control, of shared responsibility, is going to become more and more important.
It's exciting.
It is.
And I think for anyone listening, especially if you're new to all this, it's important to remember that this technology isn't just for big companies or super rich investors.
Absolutely not.
This is something that anyone can use.
Exactly. Anyone who wants to level up their security and take control of their own financial future.
Well said. That is all the time we have for today's deep dive into multi-sig wallets, but as always, we want to hear from you. Have you used a multi-sig wallet? What was your experience like?
Hit us up on social media. We want to hear all about it.
And until next time, happy diving.